going to start with a extremely important message to all of my students, all of my friends, all of the Jewish people and non-Jewish people that watch our lectures, know our efforts to bring good to the world, to bring Torah to the world, especially the community in Nigeria, especially the Jews that love HaKadosh Baruch Hu and His people. I want to ask all of you for a very, very big favor. Right now, if whether you know or you don't know, there is a group of young men, first started by Rudy Rochman, and then his team, Noam, Leibman, and Edouard, Benaym. These young people went to Nigeria in order to film a documentary about the Jewish people of Nigeria. There is an enormous community of Jews there. I'm very familiar with, Baruch Hashem. I have hundreds and hundreds of students from Nigeria. We've sent thousands of CDs over there and different material over the years. I'm in touch with quite a few of them over the years, and throughout the last several years, Baruch Hashem made some very good friends and very good students. Now, these young men, these Rudy and Andrew and Edouard, decided that they're going to go to document these Nigerian Jews, these Igbo Jews, that the world doesn't really, or at least the Western society, doesn't know very much about. And they wanted to show the world that there are Jews in different countries that perhaps the world is not familiar with. Now, unfortunately, Rudy and his friends did not know that apparently the world does not necessarily always agree with what you think is important. The politics in the world are not always known to you, nor are they appealing to this type of work. And what ended up happening is that Rudy and his friends got arrested by the Nigerian government and are now in prison. Hashem Yishmor v'Yatzil. This, Rabotai Yekarim, is a issue of pikuach nefesh. This is 100% pikuach nefesh. And for anyone that has watched my shiurim over the years, whether you live in Nigeria or the surrounding cities and countries, or you live in Israel, or you live in the US, or you live in England, or you live in Australia, or Austria, or Istanbul, or the students that I have in Abu Dhabi and Iran even. I'm begging all of you to stop doing nothing. Stop doing nothing. The time to act is right now. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'chvodo B'atzmo, gave us a test. And this test, Rabotai, is a test for all of us to see if we're going to unite or we're simply going to sit there and do nothing while one of our group, a few of our people, are going to get murdered, are going to get imprisoned for life, which is virtually murder. Are we going to do nothing about it? Right now, these young guys are in prison. They're not in prison in Israel, they're not in prison in America, they're not in prison in a place that's favorable to people like them. And the reality is that their lives are 100% at risk. A bigger risk than anything any of us can imagine. And if nothing is done by each and every single one of us, their blood will be on our hands. Why? The reality is, Rabotai, is that everyone can share the messages and say, oh, look, there is Rudy got in trouble. Oh, look, Rudy got arrested. Oh, look, such and such is in the... Great. What's that going to do? Nothing. Nothing. What we need to do, Rabotai Karim, is not just spread the message, but get both the religious and the political leaders of our communities, both Jews and Gentiles, to make public statements, to write letters appealing to the Nigerian government that this is simply a misunderstanding. These guys were not coming to delve into the Nigerian politics, to stick their noses where it doesn't belong. They were simply coming to a country, looking to do a documentary about people that are of the same religion as them, same belief system as them. That's it. Even though Rudy wants to talk about politics in regards to Zionism, in regards to Israel and things of that nature, that has nothing to do, absolutely nothing to do with Nigeria and their battle that they have in their own country, and their own people, and their own political issues, that we leave it for them to manage. It's not our business. And unfortunately, he was viewed as a threat. His group was viewed as a threat by mistake. Simple. He's a harmless young kid. I don't agree with his views on a lot of different things, but he is 100% part of our people, which we love and we're crying for. And I've spent most of my day today making phone calls and sending messages to all of the contacts that can possibly reach in Nigeria and other places that can help. Because Rabotai Karim, the time to act is now, and it's not just to pray. It's not just to share the article that was in the New York Post. The time is to get every single rabbi, wherever he's located, every single politician, wherever he's located, every single businessman, every single person that has any influence whatsoever, even if the influence is literally over 15 or 20 people, or 15 or 20,000 people, or 15 or 20 million people. Every single person has to reach out to these people and get them to write a letter, get them to make a phone call, get them to connect with the Nigerian government and explain to them that these young boys do not belong there. It's a mistake. Please release them and kick them out of the country. Simple. No documentary, no babkes. Just get them out of there. Simple. Rabotai Karim, sometimes we think that everyone is like us, that we can stick our nose where it doesn't belong, and everyone is just going to agree with it. Doesn't work like that with Judaism. If you're going to do a documentary on lions, you could do a documentary on lions anywhere. If you want to do a documentary on fish, go do a documentary on fish anywhere. You want to go do a documentary on the sand or on the butterflies, you could do a documentary wherever you want. But if you're going to do a documentary on Jewish people, you have to understand this is not exactly your backyard. You can't just go. Judaism is not just a religion, it's a political battle. And anytime you're going to get your nose where it doesn't belong, you're opening the door for the Satan himself, and you have a very serious problem if you don't have a lot of merits in your account. Right now, Rabotai, we have a few of our own in Pikuach Nefesh, 100% life risk. Why do I say life risk? They're not telling them they're going to kill them or anything like that. That's because it's only the early stages. It literally just happened. If these things are not addressed immediately, then what ends up happening is that begins a sort of a entitlement mentality, an ego, I am right, some type of a battle, a mental battle that unfortunately is typically ends with blood or something close to it. You have to understand, Rabotai, this is a very serious issue, And every single person that is in position of power, that's in position of leadership, in a Jewish people or otherwise, has to make phone calls. So for all of my students, all of my friends, all of my fans, and even all of my enemies, I am simply begging you, do everything you can and everything above what you can to connect with the Nigerian government, to connect with someone that can connect to the Nigerian government, to make public statements and simply apologize on the behalf of Rudy, apologize on the behalf of Andrew, apologize on behalf of Edouard, apologize on behalf of Am Yisrael that we simply went into a place unprepared, that we simply didn't belong there. Get them out of this place. Get them out of there. Get them out of prison. They have no business being there. Obviously, if a Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted a documentary over there, somebody else would have done it. There's no need for documentaries. There's need for life. And unfortunately, Rabotai, sometimes the ambition inside each one of us takes us to a place the Torah doesn't want us to be. Even though there's a lot of really good people in Nigeria, both Jews and Gentiles, the reality is there is a lot of issues that us in the Western society, we're sitting on our big couches and local supermarkets that deliver all the way to your house. That stuff doesn't necessarily always work in every country. Not everybody lives this way. And the mentality is different, and the political issues are different. Here in America, you could pretty much curse out the president and nothing's going to happen. You could do whatever you want in so many words. Some of these people are destroying stores and nothing happens to them. Destroying companies and nothing happens to them. In other countries, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way. When you go into other countries, even if you mean well, even if you're not doing anything wrong, if you're viewed as a threat in any way, shape, or form, simply put, the threat is eliminated. And we have to stop waiting for the news to come from the media, from the New York Post, and from Israel Times, and from channel Arutz 7, Arutz 7. And we have to make the news, Rabotai. We have to make the news. Each person that's a leader, a rabbi, a businessman, a political leader, has to do everything they can, especially if you're located in Nigeria. The closer you are, the better. But even if you're located in New York or you're located in California, you have to make some type of contact, some type of effort to get these boys out of there. Because the longer they're there, the bigger the life risk and the more likely the life risk is. And this, Rabotai, is simply an appeal to you from me personally. Make every effort that you can. Now, some people that have contacted today, Baruch Hashem, jumped on the bandwagon and said, listen, we're doing everything we can. I said, yeah, so do more than you can. Do more than you can. Or and other people said, yeah, we're praying. I said, I'm sorry, praying is not enough. Why? When Am Yisrael was put in a circumstance that they've never seen before, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Egypt, out of slavery, out of agony, out of a Holocaust the world has never seen before. Not before and not after. Kadosh Baruch Hu took us out of Egypt. We arrived at Yam Suf, the Sea of Reeds. No one knows how to swim. We've been slaves. We're in a desert. But we have an ocean that seems to never end in front of us. On the right, there are anacondas and scorpions the size of humans, according to the Midrash. On the left, anacondas and scorpions bigger than humans. Behind us, the entire army, with all of their weapons and all of their gold and all of their diamonds and all of their zealousness and ego, looking to kill us from Egypt. No longer looking for slaves, simply looking to kill. Am Yisrael does not know what to do. Going right or left, simply everyone's going to die, or most people. Going back, not an option, everyone's going to die. Going front, everyone's going to drown. Everybody starts crying. Am Yisrael starts crying. Moshe Rabbeinu starts crying to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everybody's crying. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, Mati tzak elai. What are you screaming to me for? Move forward. What do you mean? Who else am I going to scream to? Should I scream to Paro? Should I scream to the sea? Should I scream to the scorpions and the anacondas? Who should I scream to? HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells us over there, Rabotai, sometimes it's a time to pray. But sometimes prayer is not enough. Sometimes you have to act. You have to do something. Move forward, he tells Moshe Rabbeinu. Take some type of initiative to show me you believe in me. Show me that you trust in me. Show me that you know that I'm going to be the one that fights your wars. Move forward. Whatever choice of impossibility you go to, just know that you're doing it in my name. Am Yisrael goes into the ocean. HaKadosh Baruch Hu splits the ocean after. Nachshon ben Aminadav, the head of the tribe of Yehudah, is the first one to go into the sea. Starts drowning himself. The water is covering his nose, but he has 100% emunah, has faith in HaKadosh Baruch Hu that Hashem is going to fight the war for him. Even if that war is a supernatural war. It's a physical war. It's something that doesn't make any sense. He says, go forward. I'm going to listen to Hashem, literally. He said, forward, I'm going forward. That's what he did. Everyone else saw him. They followed. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, that's exactly what I was looking for. And he splits the ocean into 12 different tunnels, one for each tribe. Rabotai Yekarim, right now is not a time to read New York Post articles and New York Times and Twitter tweets and all of that stuff. Right now is a time to get yourself, your community, your leaders, your politicians, your rabbis, your rich people, whoever you have that's an influencer, to reach out to the Nigerian government, to write letters and do whatever is possible to get them to understand this is simply a misunderstanding. It's a mistake. Rudy and his team simply did not know what they were getting into, did not know that they're going to be targeted as people that are part of the enemy, even though they have nothing to do with the political situation. They were just looking for Jewish people that he could document and record and put on some YouTube video. That's it. It's literally entertainment. They're looking for entertainment to provide entertainment, and instead they got themselves into a life risk because they put their faces into a political battle. Into a battle where some people don't care about death. We have to understand, it's not our business. We have to get our people out there. Our dear friends that already live in the community, are struggling enough. There's simply no reason for us to think that we know what's going on over there, that we can decide for them what's right and wrong, and try to right the world, and try to give the Nigerian government some advice of what they should do with their own political situation. It's not our business. Their government, their issues, not our problem. Our problem is one of our own, where three of our own are in a life danger. And we need to do whatever we can to get them out of there. For all of the rabbis and all of the leaders that are working behind the scenes, chazakim u'buchim, but this is a time you need to get to the front of the scenes also. Do whatever you can. I've told all my contacts, I've been on the phone constantly with messages everywhere. Baruch Hashem, a lot of people are trying to do whatever they can, but I told them, use my name, Baruch Hashem. If you need me to write a letter, you need on their behalf to the Nigerian government or to whoever else that needs to an explanation, to vouch for these boys, to allow them to be freed from the prison. Please use my name. Let me know what to write and who to write. BeEzrat Hashem will do it. We have Baruch Hashem the support of some of the biggest rabbis in the world. Baruch Hashem, we just got a letter from another two Gedolei Ador. One of them is the head of Edouard, one of the biggest rabbis in Edouard, one of the face of Edouard, Reuven Zakain, wrote us a 2-page letter of support, Baruch Hashem, for all of our work. And if that wasn't enough, we also have the head rabbi of the world today, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef Shichyeh, wrote us a full-page letter of support. These are just some highlights of certain things that I liked about the letter. It was just a copy of my letter. He just, Baruch Hashem, wrote us a letter of support for all of our work, for everything that we do. Baruch Hashem, very interesting letter. Baruch Hashem will work on it to translate it to English and publicize it. Baruch Hashem, we have Arav Yaakov Zamir, we have Arav Eliyahu Ben Chaim, Arav Gidon Ben Moshe. Many of the Gedolim have supported our work, know exactly what we're looking to do, what we're trying to do, and what we're achieving. And the key, Rabotai Karim, is we're going to try to even get them and all of the others to also write letters on behalf of Rudy, on behalf of the rest of the guys that are with him, to simply get them out of this political battle, get them out of this issue. And I simply am pleading with you, with each and every single one of you, to not just sit there idly doing nothing. Contact somebody, call somebody, do something. Even if that something begins by sharing this video, that's a nice start, but it's not enough. You have to get somebody to do something to get these boys out of there, BeEzrat HaShem, before Shabbat. Before Shabbat. So it doesn't get into a new political battle and a prisoner strategy of exchange of some kind. And the longer these things continue, the more of a nightmare this is for everybody. And we have to understand that this is a very, very sensitive issue. Don't start criticizing any governments. Don't start telling people what you think of them. Simple. Some of our own went to a place apparently without enough information, enough knowledge of what they're getting themselves into. It's a mistake. They were mistaken to be somebody that they're not. Sorry. Let us go. We're going to go back to our house. You go back to your house. We're going to go back to our life. You go back to your life. The end. As if it never happened. As if it never happened. That's the ultimate and the best solution that it could be. The sooner, the better. Your local rabbi, politician, businessman, whoever. The closer they are to Nigeria, the better. But also, even if you're far, please, I beg each and every single one of you, all of my dear friends and students in Nigeria, there are, Baruch Hashem, hundreds and hundreds of you, thousands of you, that are watching my shiurim, please do something. I know that it's a nightmare for you already. It's a difficult situation for you already. And don't rely on somebody else doing it. Everybody knows somebody. And don't just wait for the Jewish guy to help you. Ask the non-Jew too. If he's a decent non-Jew that's not looking to kill Jews for fun, contact them too. Contact whoever you can that can potentially help this situation. Because they're foreigners, the issue is much worse than if it would be a local. The sensitivity is much greater. Don't wait for the Israeli government to get involved. Don't wait for the American government to be involved. Don't wait for anybody to be involved. Do something yourself. So at least maybe the chip that you put on the table, that's going to be the winner. We don't know what HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to decide of what's going to be the winner. But if we show unity and care for each other at this time, Rabotai Karim, that is true Ahavat Yisrael. We don't necessarily have to agree with each other on every single thing. And as you all know, I've even made a couple of videos against the ideological and religious beliefs, mostly the religious beliefs of Rudy Rochman. I don't agree with him at all, but he's still one of us. I still love him like I do one of my kids, one of my brothers. And the reality is, Rabotai, we need them out of there as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Once he comes home, we continue the disagreements, public and private and so on. But just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you want death for them. This is never a personal battle, and that's one of the things that I want to explain to each and every single one of you. Because I've said it before, but time and time again, I see people either miss that lecture or misunderstand. Every single person that we expose, whether it's a Manis Friedman or Ephraim Goldberg or the most recent Asher Meza and Moshe Otero and Dror Kasuto and on and whoever else is on the list, these are people we disagree with in the harshest terms and in the most extraordinary way, most extraordinary possible way of disagreement. We believe they have literally, in some cases, a completely different belief that's antithetical to ours, to the extent where we believe their belief is an enemy of ours. But yet, this is something based on their beliefs, on their acts, on their ideas. It has nothing to do with them personally. We don't want them to die, chas v'shalom. We don't want any harm to happen to them physically of any kind. We simply want them to stop, want them to change, want them to do tshuva, stop misleading people, stop misteaching people. That's all we want. We don't focus on their personal issues, if they're fat, if they're ugly, if they're missing teeth, if they have too many teeth, if they're old, if they're young, if they're tall, if they're short, if they're divorced, if they're married, none of that stuff matters to me. As you noticed, I generally don't talk about that stuff. I try not to make fun of them personally. Why? It doesn't matter. It doesn't serve any value for me to make fun of them personally, and it has nothing to do with the disagreement. And quite frankly, I don't hate them personally. It has nothing to do with their personalities. But nonetheless, we will forcefully fight for the sake of the honor of the Torah until the end. One thing does not contradict the other. We're fighting for the sake of the Torah, for the honor of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They are our spiritual enemy in some aspects. But nonetheless, we're still part of the same people. We're still part of the same people, and there's still a way to help them or their followers or both do tshuva. Them dying or something bad happening to them doesn't help our cause. Doesn't help their people, doesn't help anybody. The idea is for them to do tshuva. But when it comes to situations like this, where one of them, one of us, is in danger in the hands of the non-Jews, everything is put on hold. Everything is put on hold. Just like Shabbat is the most critical foundation of the Torah. Without Shabbat, there is no Judaism. A Jew that violates Shabbat on purpose, drives on Shabbat, whether he's driving to the synagogue or he's driving to the store, doesn't make a difference. According to the Torah, in 12 places, according to the Rambam, in at least 7 places, the Gemara in many other places, the Zohar, the Poskim, the Shulchan Aruch, everyone agrees across the board, a Jew that violates Shabbat on purpose is considered 100% an idol worshipper. An idol worshipper that at the time of the Sanhedrin would get a death penalty of the worst kind. Skila, stoning. Thrown off a building 2 stories, and then after that a boulder rolling over him, and then thrown rock. Horrible, disaster, nightmare. This obviously does not exist anymore because we don't have a Sanhedrin, but nonetheless, he's still viewed spiritually as an idol worshipper. You cannot use him as a witness in a Jewish ceremony, you cannot count him in minyan, and so on and so forth. But, despite the magnitude of this sin, if there is a life risk, if a woman is about to give birth, if someone is sick, got a heart attack, or there's a life risk on Shabbat and you have to take somebody to the hospital, Shabbat, with all of its grandeur, with all of its majesty and so on, is put on hold. Is put on hold, and now there is a new mitzvah. And that mitzvah is to save that Jew's life. To save that Jew's life. And by the way, even for a non-Jew, you're allowed to violate Shabbat. Even for a non-Jew, if you're a doctor, you're allowed to violate Shabbat for the sake of a non-Jew. Why? Because it's a two-way street. If we don't help their people, they're not going to help our people if they're the doctors and so on. So the Torah allows us to put Shabbat, and actually commands us to put Shabbat on hold for the sake of a life risk. After the life risk is out of the way, we've saved this person, BeEzrat HaShem, Shabbat turns back on immediately. We don't have to get permission for Shabbat to get turned back on. Shabbat automatically gets turned back on, and that's it. And you're no longer allowed to violate Shabbat anymore. So we see here, Rabotai, that at a time of let's call it normalcy. We could debate, we could disagree, we could even call out each other about the mistakes that we're making. For the sake of the honor of the Torah, nothing personal. Simply, someone's making a mistake, misleading others, as long as they're not literally doing it in a way of the missionaries and so on, we are obligated to fight these people for the sake of the honor of the Torah. But the moment there is a danger, a life risk, everything is on hold. We have to pray for them, and we have to act in order to fulfill a new mitzvah of pidyon shvuim, releasing the prisoners, to get them out of the life risk that they're in. This, Rabotai, is a critical lesson in Judaism. Because although HaKadosh Baruch Hu's hand is in everything, HaKadosh Baruch Hu also wants to know what we're going to do. He's the one that's going to decide what's going to happen here. He's the one that put Rudy and his friends in prison, and he's the one that's going to decide when to release them, BeEzrat HaShem. The question is, do we want to be the vessel that influences Hashem's decision to do it? If we unite at such a time, then we're going to be utilizing the Torah in the right way, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to see, at least when it comes to that, they're united, then Hashem can act. Then Hashem can soften the hearts of the people and make their eyes see the truth, that these young guys have nothing to do with the political situation that's there. They're not the enemy, they're not anything. They're simply looking to make a YouTube video for entertainment. That's it. You don't want them to? Let them out of the prison, let them out of the country. They'll pray their own way back home. Ishtabach shemo la'ad. It's like the eagle that flew through the sky. When it flew, you saw him, and it was extraordinary, and it looked really bigger than life. But in reality, the moment he left, it's as if he was never there. Why? It's just air. Same thing. Same thing with Rudy and his friends. Right now, it looks like this is probably a tick in the government's, head right now. They don't. The last thing they want is another problem, a political issue, all types of issues. Last thing anybody wants is this. But nonetheless, they have to protect themselves. So, this is not a threat. This is not a person that's involved in anything to do with the political issues that are happening in your government. Please, release them, and they'll simply be like the air. Just like the air. It looks like an eagle, but I promise you, it's not. It's just a young kid, has ambitions, perhaps a little bit uninformed, or a lot uninformed about what Judaism really is, and the reality is, has a good heart and means well. Rabotai, please, I beg you, all of my friends, all of my students, all of the Talmidei Chachamim that are watching this, all of the rabbis that are watching this, all of the politicians and the businessmen watching this from all over the world, I plead with you to please do something. Don't act there and just cry to Hashem. It's not enough. Don't just sit there and say, oh, okay, somebody else is going to do it. You have to do it. Please. These guys are in danger, and the danger is greater than we can imagine. Only the hand of HaKadosh Baruch Hu can free them. Nothing else. We have to entice HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we have to entice Hashem to do it. But not do it later. Do it now. Do it before Shabbat. The sooner, the better. These boys would even be allowed to fly on Shabbat just to get out of that country. Why? Because pikuach nefesh. For them, not for all the people that are living there. For them themselves, it's 100% pikuach nefesh. So please, if you have any questions, you want a letter from me, you want a letter from any other rabbis, anything I can do to help, 24 hours a day, Baruch Hashem.